Hey guys, Script Trooper here with another video, and this is an interesting one. I know that Park Place has scooped a fair bit of stuff, and they do definitely know some people. I think it's somebody else. I don't think it's them that actually started this rumor, but let's get into it here, because I actually listened to, I believe it was a Nerdrotic live stream, and I just had it on in the background while I was working, and I'm pretty sure I heard about this, actually. I might have missed this particular part, but anyways. Marvel Studios cleaned house and fired activist producers. Now, that is something. If that's the case, that is quite something. I do know that they've overproduced. Like, you go to certain shows like the Marvels and She-Hulk and this and that, there just seems to be a lot of producers. Like, there'll be like 5, 6, 7 producers on one show. And that's a lot. And so the rumors I've heard from guys is that those producers are literally just there to make sure that sort of the message is, you know, at the forefront and is not being overlooked for a good story. So, I mean, but you read through, like, who's involved in these projects, and there does seem to be an awful lot of producers, and you don't need that many producers unless you are doing things that are sort of above and beyond what you normally would do when you're making a show, which is writing a good show and making a good story. So anyway, let's see what happens here. A new rumor claims that Marvel Studios cleaned house and fired all activist producers. I do know that the Elon Musk did that with Twitter. It's amazing to me that, you know, 80% of Twitter staff was literally just combing tweets and censoring stuff. Like, that's crazy when you think about it. That's a lot of people. Imagine the money they were burning just to, like, prevent certain people from saying certain things or promoting certain people saying certain things. And so is this going to be the same type of thing that Marvel's going to be able to, like, produce quality products with 80% less staff? I doubt it'd be that high, but you know what I mean? It's like, wow, okay. This latest rumor comes from Film Threat founder Chris Gore during an appearance. Oh, it's Critical Drinker. Sorry, yes, okay. So, yes. Okay, Gore stated, I do know people who work at Marvel. They have cleaned house. They quietly, months ago, fired all the producers that could be labeled activist. He continued, unlike Lucasfilm is lost. They're lost. They're doubling down on all the nonsense. You will never get anything good out of Lucasfilm and Star Wars. That's it. So, I mean, is this sort of with the Wolverine and Deadpool movie and then announcing Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom, and then getting rid of a bunch of people that are poking their noses and putting their fingers in the stew, that is really just about, like, comic adaptation. Literally, like, I don't want to sound like arrogant or anything like that, but in terms of, like, the storyline, not the shots and the camera work and the special effects, the storyline is already there for you. You literally don't have to do anything. You don't. You have to write a screenplay in the sense that you have to envision it on a screen, but even that is pretty easy. A comic book is literally a storyboard for you. If you're making a movie or making a show, it's a literal storyboard. You don't have to do anything except post it up on the board and follow what it's saying. And then, you know, you can add in, again, like your special effects and different shots. Maybe you'll add in the odd line here and there, something funny, whatever. You can do that, but literally the story is right there. You don't have to change it. So they've been paying people to change it. You know, and they're still doing that. We're going to have a female Silver Surfer and all types of nonsense. But they literally don't, it's a no-brainer. So why would you go in and try to mess with it? And that's what they've been doing. And it's just silly. So this is a good thing if this has happened. Maybe this, like I was saying, combine this with the Deadpool Wolverine, with the Robert Downey Jr. thing, and then getting rid of these people. Maybe they're turning over a new leaf, and they're realizing that they can make a lot more money and be a lot more popular if they just follow the scripts that Stan Lee backed and is provided for them. They don't have to change anything. The other thing he's saying about Lucasfilm here, there's a rumor that the new Skeleton Crew show doesn't have woke ideology in it. It's just a show. It's just a kid's show. They're trying to find their way home. It's a little adventure show, and it's not super complex, and that is a good thing if that's the case. But apparently Lucasfilm hasn't been backing it and promoting it as much, rumor has it, due to it not having the messaging. So if that's the case, then I could see why what he's saying here, Lucasfilm is done and they're just doubling down, and I could see why they wouldn't be super thrilled. I could be wrong. Let me know in the comment section, but I'm almost positive that a director for Skeleton Crew came out and said that they're not doing anything with any ideology in it. I could be wrong about that, but I'm almost positive that he came out a while ago and said something to that effect, that they're just worrying about telling a fun show for kids, which honestly, yes, please. Like, just do a normal kid show with Star Wars and fun. Stop with all the nonsense. It's just so pointless. No one, like, the ship has run its course. And maybe, just maybe, Marvel has realized that, finally. In contrast, he said Kevin Feige recognizes, basically, he said that we tried it, it didn't work. He's talking about Phase 4. It didn't work. No Kang, none of these side characters that don't have the legacy of classic characters. And if Deadpool and Wolverine proves anything, you've heard that phrase, male and pale is stale. That was spoken aloud across studios, but if you look at the box office this year, I would say male and pale is money, and that's the phrase I think people should more adopt. That's what people were saying across the studios? Male and pale is stale? Think about how crazy this is. So, you have Stan Lee, who's a white, pale male. He's a pale male. You have George Lucas, who's a pale male. And you know, Stan Lee founded Marvel. George Lucas founded Lucasfilm. So Star Wars, Indiana Jones, blah, 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 Willow, go on and on and on. So you spent billions of dollars buying the rights to these IPs from these stale, pale males so that you could basically just change them into what you wanted, but you're acknowledging that the pale male is what sells because you literally bought it. You paid the stale, pale males money because they make money. So this whole thing is so weird. I get, like, I tweeted, like, self-awareness, a lack of self-awareness is like a career choice now. Like, these people, like, do they not, like, see themselves? And, like, you paid money for this, and now you're saying that male pale is stale and doesn't make money when you literally acknowledge it does by paying them billions. It's like they don't have any self-awareness. Like, it's like they have, like, two competing ideologies in their own brains, but they turn one off, I guess, or something. It's super weird. But at the end of the day, it's male-dominated because it's male-dominated. It just is. Like, that's just the way it is. And so you can say whatever you want to say, but it is, and it always has been. You know, and don't get me wrong, there are lots of different races of people that have done some amazing things, including comic books, including working at Lucasfilm and being a part of everything and writing stories and stuff, and women and everything else. But this idea that you say you shut out the pale, stale male, you shut him out and put everybody else in the forefront and not involve him at all. It doesn't make sense. Again, you paid money for that. It's so weird. So good. I hope that's true. Also noted, Gore also noted, additionally, they fired people that don't know the comics. Why would they have been there in the first place? Why did they hire them? And it's going to be a sea change that will take years. That's why they're announcing this now. We know we screwed up and failed, but look at what's coming. So we're going to get 2 bad movies, 2 bad TV shows, and maybe a good Fantastic Four film. So 2 bad movies, 2 bad TV shows, and maybe a good Fantastic Four film. Oh, and that's in 2025, I guess. Which, in this live stream, if you watch it, they go into more detail about, like, those shows and just how bad 2025 is going to be, and then that, I guess, what he's saying here is they're going to come out of it after that in 2026 with Doctor Doom, and then with Secret Wars, and they're going to move on from all of this nonsense. And I do like what they're doing with the Fantastic Four, other than Pedro. There's leaked footage. His voice is not good for this. It just doesn't sound right. Everything else about it looks pretty good, though. So, I mean, there's that. Marvel Studios did make a huge change at the end of last year on its television side. The Hollywood Reporter's Boris Kitt shared that the company was revamping its development process. Showrunners will write pilots and show Bibles. The days of Marvel shooting an entire series from She-Hulk to Secret Invasion, then looking at what's working and what's not, are done. Okay, well, hey, if this is true, they're going to learn from their mistakes, which, thank you, finally. Like, you go back to Sonic and how stupid it looked, and then they listened to fans before they put out the movie and changed it and made it better. Like, learn. Don't just keep pumping out your garbage. We're going to change the world. No, you're not. You're just an entertainment company. You're not changing the world. No one is changing their ideology because you put, trans characters in Star Wars High Republic. Like, no one cares. Like, it's not going to do anything. Marvel's head of streaming television and animation, Brad Winderbaum, informed Kit we're trying to marry the Marvel culture with the traditional television culture. He added, we need executives that are dedicated to this medium, that are going to focus on streaming, focus on television, because they are two different forms. Okay. In April, Kit and Aaron Couch of the Hollywood Reporter noted that Marvel Studios was hit with some layoffs. The duo reported around 15 people, including junior-level employees in production and development, were laid off. Okay, well, what Gore is saying sounds a lot bigger than that. It sounds like producer-level stuff, not just lower-level employees. More recently, Kevin Feige has admitted that characters introduced in Phase 4 were unlikely to show up in the company's upcoming Avengers films. He told Gizmodo, I rarely speak in absolutes like that, right? The notion of never, ever seeing somebody again. We've got Tim Blake Nelson in a movie coming up next year, right? So I never talk in absolutes like that. However, he then admitted, but the truth is, we're going to tell a story in these Avengers movies. There won't be room for 100,000 characters in it, so choices will have to be made. That's for sure, but that doesn't mean you won't ever see anybody ever again. In other words, we're just going to sort of quietly put She-Hulk over here. Quietly put the Marvels over here. And it doesn't mean we won't ever, but we'll just quietly... and the Eternals and all these stupid things. He also told Inverse that it was unlikely Eternals would get a sequel. There's no immediate... Well, it bombed. Like, of course you're not going to make a sequel. However, he did note that Marvel does plan to reference the events that took place in the film moving forward. There are, and I think you've seen maybe in the trailer we've released recently, an acknowledgement of some of those events. Certain giant things to come out of the ocean. As far as employees who do not know comics being excised from the company, it's unclear how accurate this claim is, given Jack Schaefer is the showrunner for the upcoming Agatha All. Oh yeah, that's one of the ones. Oh, and she's a good actress too, the one starring in that. I can't remember her name. She's really funny, but that's going to be a just gong show. And she's notorious for being clueless about Marvel source material. Why? Like, it's just another Nepo hire. Like, I'm friends with Kathleen, or I'm friends with Bob Iger, and I'm friends with these people, so give me a job, even though I have no clue. Why would you want to do a Marvel comic book series if you've never read the comic books or know anything about them? Why would you even want to? It doesn't even make any sense. She infamously told Inverse in 2019, I'm not interested in adhering to comic canon that is discriminatory in any way or that violates my value systems. In other words, inserting yourself into the stale, pale male dominated genre and changing it, even though it was invented and you bought it from the pale, stale males. It's just so stupid, and you're flipping white anyway. Like, people are crazy in their heads, I think. I think they're dumb, actually. You're dumb. If you want to make a comic book show and you don't care about the comic books, why would you want to do that? You're just a dumb individual. You're dumb. You're a dumb person, and you think everybody else is dumb and is going to get into your show, and they're not. It's going to bomb, and they already know that, and that's why they're saying they're rebooting and they're firing people and they're going to start over in 2026. Makes sense. In the same interview, she admitted she wanted to use the Marvel Cinematic Universe to make big positive... Exactly, you're just an activist. Like, just follow the comic books. Comic books are storyboards. Just follow what the comic book says to a T. That's all you have to do. You don't have to do anything else. It's the easiest job in the world, but you want to have an activist show. She said, I wasn't a huge superhero movie fan before starting to work at Marvel. No, you weren't a fan at all. But now that I'm doing it, there's just so much opportunity to make big positive statements. In other words, I want to use the IP to make my statements. Instead of just following the comic book, following the storyboard laid out for you. What a dumb company Disney is to have done this. Especially something like Captain Marvel and Black Widow. To have these female-centered stories, I just can't not be involved in that. Well, and those are good stories if you follow the comic book and you don't, try to put the message in there. If you just follow the comic book, they're good stories. But she can't bring herself to do that. For also, she hired the writer's room for WandaVision based on gender quotas, informing Inverse that the makeup of the room was incredibly intentional, and it was very much supported by Marvel. Yeah, why would you want a bunch of comic book fans that have read the comics when you can have a bunch of gender quota hires? Makes perfect sense. I mean, a hundreds of $billion company, it makes perfect sense to do that. Of course it does. The writer's room featured 8 staff writers, with 4 of them being women. Oh, I don't care. I don't care about the fact that they're women. It's just, do you read comic books or don't you? And the vast majority of comic book readers are men. I'm sorry, that's just a fact. Doesn't mean you can't have women in there, but not a lot of women read comic books. That's just a reality. To this point, she also stated, I choose to be part of the projects that are about positive representation, because that's positive to have people that don't read comic books making comic book shows. Somehow that's a positive, because they're women. We need to see women. We need to see people of color. We need to see nuanced experiences. And we need to see different perspectives on screen. There have been black dudes in comic books forever, lady. You don't know that because you don't read comic books. I've said this before. My favorite comic book as a kid was Spawn. I still have the first 10 issues and a whole pile of other ones. Like, Spawn is a black guy. Like, I never even noticed it until people like her started blabbering on, and then I was like, oh, wait a minute, I like Spawn, and he was black, nobody cared. Like, it's just so dumb. I choose to work with people who are interested in changing perspectives for the better and putting a world on screen that is something we can aspire to have. See, they're trying to change the world, and in moving in a direction that will create a world I hope will be better for my children. Why don't you write your own stories then? Why are you trying to change ones that are already, like, a license to print money, and then you're going to use that, the pale, stale male's license to print money, to do your, like, write your own story. Oh, but you can't. Because you don't know how, because you suck. Also noted she wanted to tone down the violence of superhero films. I would like to see alternatives to violence. Like, so you don't want superheroes. You don't want superheroes. She's the hockey mom. I've used this analogy before when I was a kid, who, wanted to take body contact out of hockey when I played hockey as a kid. Instead of just putting her kid in another sport that didn't have contact, she fights to get contact removed from hockey and was successful. They've bumped up the age. They continuously bump up the age for these people that never liked it in the first place but decided to insert themselves and change it. It's literally the same thing. Maybe I would qualify that by saying alternatives to glamorizing guns and weaponry. She admitted that's one of the reasons I love Captain Marvel. It's all about inner power, and the destruction is not at the expense of human life. Again, if you didn't like it, go somewhere else. The Punisher's the Punisher. That's the way it is. Deadpool's Deadpool. Go away. Go work on a activist project somewhere. You don't have to use Marvel. I can't believe that Disney allowed this. Like, I've got a lot of very low IQ people in Hollywood right now. Very low IQ people. The showrunner also indicated she wanted to feature more morally gray characters. What's with these women in the morally gray stuff? Like Leslie Headland did that as well, and KK likes to do that. What's with these women in the morally gray stuff? They just love that for some reason. It's really weird. What is happening to females in our culture? What is happening to you guys? What is going on? That's not really evil. Kamir's not really evil. He only murdered 7 Jedi and killed 2 of her friends she knew when she was growing up, but she's still in love with them. Like, it's like, what? Do these women, do any of you have normal relationships? Like, are you guys married? Do you have children? Do you have, like, normal marriages? I'd really like to know, because this seems super weird to, like, even my wife is like, makes no sense. Like, she doesn't get it. Like, who are these people? My kids are really obsessed with good guys versus bad guys. Yes! Good for your children. You produce normal children. Way to go! Sometimes I explain to them, every good guy can be a bad guy. And that's healthy. Good parenting, What's your first name? I don't even care. Oh my gosh, it's complicated, but that's sort of lost on them. Good for them. That's one thing that I think can be explored more in the future. I would hope that there are ever-increasing moves towards the gray and towards complexity. Oh, gross. And again, I've used this analogy before too. It's like taking all these colors of gum, right? And you take all the different colors of gum in the rainbow and you chew them up. And by the time, you know, the flavor goes away and everything else, and then you pull that piece of gum out of your mouth, it's gray. It's gray and crappy and flavorless, and no one wants it. Just like this Agatha show is going to be. No one's going to want it. On top of Schaefer, Nate Moore is still in the company as well. Moore is the vice president of development and production at Marvel Studios. Feige credited Nate Moore, pushing Eternals to the top of the company's production list because of its focus on identity politics. Oh, and that was a real failure too, guys. Way to go. Storyboard, look at copy storyboard on movie. Done. Like, these people are so dumb. Feige told Variety, well, the notion of switching up the genders, sexualities, and ethnicities of the characters in the comics was baked in initially. That was part of what Nate Moore was really advocating for. Way to go, Nate. Have you ever read a comic book, Nate? Moving Eternals to the top of the list for us to start working on. What exactly the makeup was between when Nate put together his internal discussion document, which is how we always start all of our projects, and what she came in and did, I don't really recall. They're advocating first, making shows second. So they have an advocacy they want to promote, and then they say, hey, let's use the Eternals to do that, and then that's what they do. Instead of just storyboard, movie, comic book, movie. Wow, guys, this is unbelievable. I think that the pale, stale male is my favorite part of this. This is how Hollywood thinks of us. Their main demographic for comic books, that's what they think of us. And the guys who invented them, they paid money for them. That's what they think of them. That's what they think of George Lucas and Stan Lee. They're stale, pale males. Even though they want to buy their IP and try and change it. Unbelievable. Hollywood is a cesspool of these people that are dumb, and they're more concerned with, they think they're going to change the world through their media. They're not. They're too dumb to, and no one's interested, especially when you're taking something that's established. If they wrote something new, sure, I'm sure movies like Kids and some of these things had an impact on, a negative impact on kids in the 90s and stuff like that, but that was its own thing. When you take something that's established, like Marvel or like Star Wars or like whatever, you can't change that. That's the stupid mistake they're making. Plenty of entertainment and film impacts society, of course it does, but again, if it's already established, you can't do that with that. You got to make something else to do that. But they're too scared to do that because, number one, they don't know how to do that. And they're afraid it'll be a failure. But, of course, now they're getting failure. So hopefully this is true. Hopefully Feige is cleaning house. And they're going back to what they should be doing, which is storyboard movie. And, yeah, that's good news. But, man, I can't believe some of these quotes are unreal. I hadn't heard these before. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comment section what you think. Do you believe this? Is there hope? Let me know in the comment section. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. Always helps the channel. And feel free to check anything else on my channel. Have yourselves a really good day.